You're listening to the Cynic Radio Podcast. Now, your hosts, Igri and Cynic.
You are listening to episode 25 of the Cynic Radio Podcast, and I'm your host, Cynic. And with me, as always, Twitter sensation and star of The Talking Dead, Igri. This week, it's time for All Out War, as we review Season 7 finale of The Walking Dead, First Day of the Rest of Your Life. Because we are the Cynic Radio Podcast, and we wish the Russians would have took as much interest in the American Idol winner as they did the presidency. Sorry, Daughtry. Miss out on that latest viral video? Didn't see the most recent trailer for the next movie coming out? In the dark about what the biggest song in America is? We've got you covered. Every week we scour the internet and look for the latest and greatest. This is What's Up.
My What's Up this week is for the spine-chilling trailer for the Stephen King movie, It, scheduled to be in theaters in September. This new trailer has already generated over 200 million views in its first 24 hours and smashed the world record for first day trailer traffic. I don't know about you guys, but some horror movies just creep me the fuck out. And when I get so scared that I want to cry, that is a job accomplished. The original It was a miniseries starring Tim Curry as Pennywise, and it aired on TV in 1990. They decided to take this version to the big screen, and it's actually starring a relatively unknown cast, so this will be pretty exciting to see. The movie looks to be a scare fest, and I'm excited to see it because my skin was crawling by the end of this trailer. So check the trailer out on YouTube if you haven't already, and mark your calendars to go see it at the theaters on September 8th. So that's what's up.
What's up for me this week is PlayStation 4 exclusive MLB The Show, sporting Ken Griffey Jr. on the cover. I bought this a few days ago and I cannot put it down. In my opinion, the best part of the game is Road to the Show, which is a very RPG-like, where you create a player and start off in AA and work your way all the way through the majors. But this game has a little bit of something for everybody, like online favorites, Diamond Dynasty, and franchise mode. And for you old-timers, like my good friend IG, they also have Retro Mode, which calls back to the early Nintendo baseball games. It's an easy game to pick up and play, so if you're a PS4 player and you love baseball like I do, it's a can't miss. MLB The Show 2017. That's what's up.
So what's up for me this week is the new podcast S-Town. It's a 7-episode podcast that debuted on Monday. All the episodes were released and is very similar to an episode by the same producers, Serial. It's incredibly engaging. And for me, from the first episode on, I was really hooked on this. What's interesting about it is that it starts off as if there's some kind of an interesting there's a mystery and murders, and so you're kind of brought in because of that. But almost immediately it subverts those expectations and takes a turn into being something completely different from what I was expecting. It's hosted by This American Life producer Brian Reed, and it kind of follows this one very eccentric, weird character, John B. And I don't want to give much away, but I just want to say it's really an incredible podcast and a great listen. I listened to it within a day. I listened to all 7 episodes. Feels a bit voyeuristic at times, but really in this age of reality TV and social media, the lines between public and private are really nebulous, and I think this podcast does a great job of kind of exploring that and just exploring the mind of this really interesting and almost tortured character. So what's up for me is the podcast S-Town.
What's up for me this week is the return of Archer on FX. Coming back this Wednesday, April 5th. This show, a little animated comedy about a covert black ops and espionage organization. It's really more about the personalities than it is about the people. Now, you can watch all 7 seasons previous to this on Netflix. It's a great watch. They're short episodes, 22 minutes apiece. It really is a good time, and if you haven't watched it, the voice acting is hilarious in this show. So there it is. Archer on FX. That's what's up.
It's time to choose a side because this is All Out War. Today we talk about The Walking Dead Season 7 finale, Episode 16, The First Day of the Rest of Your Life. The episode opens with Sasha in her deluxe easy street accommodations. She's listening to music and dreaming of Abraham. He wakes her up and tells her Maggie's in trouble. He's going with Rick to take her to the doctor at Hilltop. IG, you Twitter sensation, you. Did Sasha's dream/flashbacks with Abraham hit the emotional mark for you?
It really did. That just started immediately. It was good to see Abraham back, even though this is a short-lived thing because both of them are now gone. But it was nice to see him back. It was nice to see some backstory before they went about what their relationship meant to each other. I liked it a lot.
I was so happy to see Abraham again because I really did love his character. I just wish that they had maybe developed their relationship a little bit more during the show. I know it was the insinuation was there, but I wish we had gotten to see more of a development because for me personally, I think it would have hit even harder. It did hit me, but I think it could have hit me harder if I had more of a development of their relationship.
See, I felt the same. I was a little concerned, number one, that they were going to do this the whole episode because they have done things like this before. And number two, it felt like a way to validate Sasha and Abraham's relationship, which I wish they would have done while it was actually happening. Ryan, trusting the wrong people seemed to be the theme of the whole finale. When we open it up, Dwighty Boy is on his knees where we left him last week. He wants Negan stopped. Can Rick and company actually trust Dwight?
I don't think you can trust anybody fully, but I do believe that Dwight is being honest and that he wants to stop Negan and he wants to maybe redeem himself a little bit. So I think that the way the episode played out, I definitely think Dwight's still on their side. So I mean, at the end of the day, I think they don't have a choice to trust him, but they need him. He's the guy on the inside, and the one card that Negan's not aware of. So, yeah, I think they need to trust him.
Daryl works him over a bit and threatens to stick a knife in his eye. Tara browbeats him about Denise. IG, what was your overall opinion of the scene?
Overall scene was a little bit brutal, but it was well acted. It was a very good job, and Tara just seemed like she was out for vengeance. Like Dwight was the fault of everything that's happened. Like, it's not even Negan or the Saviors or anything. It was directly Dwight's fault. Almost a little too far to the edge, but it was right there on that razor edge where I think it was perfectly done.
Yeah, to kind of add insult to injury too, he's like, well, I wasn't aiming at her, which only seemed to incite them more. I personally felt it drug on a little bit. I do think Austin Emilio, who plays Dwight, stole the scene. And even though Alana Masterson, who's grown on me, I was completely indifferent towards her and Denise, the whole Denise rant. I think it was more of a matter of timing. Once again, like we said just a minute ago, if you throw them together for an episode or two, I'm not going to be overwhelmed with grief if one or the other of them dies. Back in her cell, Sasha and Negan haggle over how many people need to die in the Alexandrians' punishment. They settle on one. A great line from Negan. He says, "You had me wrapped around your little finger. You know that, right? And it's not a man-woman thing. If you had a dick, I'd still have these same feelings." Julie, if you were forced to hand one person over to Negan from Rick's group, who would it be?
Rosita.
No hesitation.
How about you, Ryan?
I don't know, maybe Tara. I don't like Rosita all that much, but she's been gifted these skills that could be useful, so I don't know that we want to get rid of her.
A lot of them.
Yeah, gifted is definitely one way to put it. How about you, Ig?
I don't know. There must be some random person. Maybe Judith.
Oh my God.
That's actually.
Oh, but she's hiding at the hilltop now, so.
You just said out of the group, not out of somebody that was standing there.
I definitely had my fingers crossed for Rosita if they were going to go that far with it. The kingdom is on the march to war and the main players are headed to battle. They encounter Morgan, who's feeling quite stuck. Kyrie Payton, who plays King Ezekiel, is fast becoming one of my favorite actors. He convinces Morgan to join them. Two great lines from King Ezekiel in that scene. The Saviors are a dragon with many heads, and their number are legion. And that's Benjamin's armor you wear. Do you wear it to serve you or to honor him? Lenny James is a great actor. Do you feel that the writing in that scene kind of let him down, Ig?
No, I really don't, and here's why. I think that the silent retort in that scene said it all. I think him standing there giving that reality of you've got the armor on, you know why you put it on. If he'd have come back with some snarky response or something, I think it would have taken away. So I like that he kind of stood there silently in reflection like, you're right. I'm not stuck. I can come back. I can be who I am. I can be comfortable with who I am.
Ryan, which would benefit the kingdom more? The crazy, you can't clear me Morgan, or the calm, cool, calculating Akigo Morgan?
At this stage, the crazy Morgan. They need They don't need calm, cool, and collected at this point. They need crazy. They're gonna, it's all out war, and they need him to just kill with reckless abandon at this stage. So I definitely would, they've got enough kind of quote leaders in the group that I just want to see Morgan killing people for this war that's to come.
Yeah, Ryan has an outstanding point. I mean, the calm, cool Morgan was too methodical in his thinking, kind of thought a few steps ahead about different outcomes of what could happen. And while that is a smart play, I think, just like Ryan said, we need him to just be full on crazy and just slicing and dicing everywhere he turns.
I think I picked up a bit of a flaw in the writing there. IG, did they ever really explain to Morgan where they're headed or how they knew where to go?
No, they really didn't. They're just all got their catcher's gear on and they're going somewhere. So, they didn't tell them where they're going. They're going for a walk. Maybe they're going to go get some more melons, something. But yeah, I think Crazy Morgan is definitely not the way to go. I'm against these other guys a little bit because the Crazy Morgan might kill some people you don't want killed.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, you need somewhere in the middle. I mean, a calm, cool, and calculating Morgan is a good idea for decision making, but you need him to also maybe, fuck a couple people up in the process. Not just stand there with a stick looking ominous, but actually react when things are going down. Jadis and the rest of the Funky Bunch show up in Alexandria with a ton of people and weapons. What could possibly go wrong letting a shady bunch of people armed to the teeth in your front door, right? Ryan, have you ever trusted someone you knew you shouldn't and it came back to bite you?
I can't think off the top of my head of a moment, but I'm sure
Probably
I
that
have.
guy who borrowed $20 from you.
Yeah, that guy about $20. Yeah, yeah, that's one. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure there is a moment.
Ryan, you're my go-to story guy. Jules, have you ever trusted someone you knew you shouldn't, and it came back to bite you?
I don't think I've ever really had a situation in my life personally where...
Have you ever trusted somebody that you shouldn't, and it came back to bite you?
I have. It's come back to bite me hard. And the thing is you shouldn't. You really know it. You know right ahead, but you get this thing in your head where I'm a good person. I'm probably just overthinking this. They wouldn't dare do this thing to me. Nobody was that cold in their heart. And they are. People are awful. And it's the simple truth that, like, people in general, given the opportunity, will screw you over for next to nothing.
Fine, I'll return your lawnmower. Stop crying about it. Expert sniper Michonne is up on the rooftop with a very Ronda Rousey-looking garbage pail kid, and they're setting up sniper positions. Julie, in your opinion, did Ronda Rousey glaring at Michonne take away from the big reveal to come?
I feel like, to me, I had trusted these garbage pail people, even though I shouldn't have all along. I just assumed that they were on the right track. But that woman turning around and smiling and then saying, "We win," I just felt like she just revealed herself. To me, it all of a sudden became very clear they were about to flip the script on Rick's group.
Ryan, did you see the oncoming armbar that was headed Michonne's way?
Yeah, that was a little too obvious when they were showing her smile and we win, and everything was too easy and too clean at this stage. So you kind of knew something bad was going to happen, someone was going to betray them, and I think that gave it away. That I could have done without. Even though I kind of had expected it before the episode, I think that sealed it for me.
The Saviors roll up with Eugene on the megaphone. He warns that all they can do is comply. It's the only way, and the jig is up. Rick asks Eugene where Negan is, and he responds, "I'm Negan." At that point, Rick seems to deem Haircut expendable. Where are you with Eugene at this point?
At this point, I'm still hung. I still hope that he's going to have his moment, and I'm praying that he has his moment because I love Eugene. He's simple, and he's funny, and the haircut is just amazing. I want him to do something, and I think later in the episode it seems like he's still trying to kind of play both sides a little bit, but very, very cautiously. I just don't think there was an opportunity here for him to do anything other than what he did.
I think Eugene's done. I think he's full Negan. Now I don't think he believes in the ideals. I don't think he believes that Negan's, I don't think he buys into it on an emotional level, but I think he's going to stay there because that's what's best for him. And the only time I can see Eugene redeeming himself is if there's a situation where the saviors are essentially done and all Negan has to, and Eugene kind of has a chance to make a difference on either side and just goes with what would already be the winning side. But I don't see him at this stage. I don't see him taking any chances unless something happens where, Negan starts kind of taking it out on him or treating him poorly. But otherwise, I think Eugene is Team Negan completely at this point.
Yeah, putting himself out there probably isn't in his skill set. It's kind of if Negan was teetering on the edge and had 1 foot off and 1 foot on a banana peel, I think Eugene might try to give him that final nudge to push him over. But as far as putting himself at risk, I don't think he's going to do that. What do you think, Jules?
I don't think he's going to put himself at risk either. I'm with Egg. I think he's definitely in the middle. I don't think that he is completely a savior, but I think there is a self-preservation mode of who is going to win, and he just wants, he wants all this fighting to stop, and he wants to be able to live is his main goal here. So I think he didn't really want to see anyone die, but what really bothered me was when he was walking with Sasha when they were getting ready to go on the truck, and he goes, well, whatever happens, they've done it to themselves. So that kind of made me feel a little bit like, is he full Negan? Because that seemed really unremorseful and not caring for a group he's been with for a while.
The How Negan Are You Today meter is at full Negan at that point. He was being listened to by one of Negan's guys, so it's hard to say. I hold out hope that Eugene comes back into the fold at some point, and I truly believe that he will. I think they're setting it up for some sort of major sabotage at the end, but, we'll hold out hope for Haircut. Rosita pushes the button and nothing happens. Ryan, did Demolition's expert Rosita drop the ball, or was she sabotaged?
I would think that she's sabotaged. I think she very quickly got this 10 out of 10 level of explosive skills. So I'm assuming that somebody on the other side, it seemed like they knew it was coming and they were all ready for it. So I think it was definitely sabotage. This is where I get
confused though, because obviously as an explosives expert, you are an expert with explosives. It doesn't seem like a trade that everybody has. So how could those garbage people or whoever sabotaged her just be able to walk up and know how to, make it so? To me, it seems like it might be a little bit more complicated than just pulling out a wire, or, to make the whole.
Oh, that was easy. Quite honestly, she had other people there trying to help wire things together, including some of them. You can't just say, here, wire that up. She had to explain to them, you have to do this and this and this. They miss a step on purpose or otherwise, and it doesn't work. That's just like anything else. You don't plug this wire in, or make sure and put the battery in so when I hit the remote charge, it goes off. And they just put the battery in backwards, and then the battery doesn't do anything. That's easy to explain. It's just, it was absolutely sabotage.
So you're saying she shouldn't have got her explosives at the Acme Explosives Company? They just walked up.
Right, her Wile E. Coyote just, obviously the Roadrunner's going to get you.
They just walked up and pushed the big blinking on-off button. At this point, when she pushes the button, the Heapsters turn their guns on the Alexandrians. Did you ever trust them? And was Rick foolish for not kind of testing them or making sure that they were on their side first?
I don't think Rick was foolish. I think there are points where you kind of have to, throughout this, there are points where you have to take a leap of faith. And this was one of those moments, because if, let's say, Heapsters don't show up, I guess Negan was aware of the plot, but Negan's just going to show up again and create more havoc. So they were going to have to fight back at some point. And they had a situation where they had people, they had weapons, and they were going to take a shot. And, had that worked out, Negan's done. And then they can go outpost to outpost and kind of win the day. But unfortunately for them, the Heapsters turned on them. So I don't think it was a bad decision on Rick's part. I don't know how much more he could have done to test them, but I didn't trust them. But again, you can't really trust people in this world. And I think there are times where you do have to make a leap of faith. And I think I don't fault Rick for making that choice. Maybe there are things maybe he could have kind of strategic things he could have done differently to protect himself, but I don't think it was a bad choice.
Like Ryan said, you can't really trust anybody in this world because everybody is out for themselves. But I think in this group especially, they've made it clear they don't really have a lot of skills other than to, take things from people once they have stuff they want. I kind of feel like Rick needed to test them in some sort of way. I'm not exactly sure what way would have been the best way to test them, but he sort of hastily was going off to give them guns and everything. Now, I know that he's probably in a rush to take out Negan too, so I think that's where he kind of fell behind on this, was his eagerness to take out Negan might have made him not realize people are still going to be people in this world, and they're going to take you for everything you've got if they can.
Maybe they should have just required them to bring some more of those weaponized walkers. Right. That might have been a good test. Bring eight of those guys that we can send after the saviors. And when they show up with those, it's like, well, you can't really control them anyway. They're not dogs. You could turn them back on the heapsters at that point.
Negan rolls up, sporting the always Negan-like red ascot with his buddy Lucille over his shoulder. And stop me if you've heard this one. Did you ever hear the one about the stupid prick named Rick, who thought he knew everything, but he didn't know shit, and he got everyone he cared about killed? That's about you. He tells them to put their guns down. Jadis explains to Rick at gunpoint that she made a better deal with the Saviors. And another great Negan line, the universe gives you a sign and you just shove your finger right up its ass. They roll out the casket with Sasha inside. Negan demands all the guns they scrape together, the last grain of lemonade they have. He wants a person of Rick's choosing for Lucille, fingers crossed that it's Rosita, and his Daryl. He's got to get his Daryl back. Oh, and the pool table. He opens the coffin and Walker Sasha springs out. IG, out of all the main cast that we've seen bitten, what were your thoughts on the makeup and the way Walker Sasha looked?
Well, considering how she died, that it was a very gentle death as far as everything goes, I think it was pretty accurate. She wasn't dead from an injury. She wasn't dead from guts hanging out or something else. She was dead from a pill. So the fact that she was still pretty clean looking and it was just mostly a little bit of eyes, a little bit of veiny, seemed like it would be about the right thing. So I liked it. I liked that they didn't go full overboard with her makeup and make it look like she was any of these walkers have been walking around for 5, 6, 7 years that are degrading.
I agree. Jules, what did you think of Walker Sasha?
It's like I almost forgot that this show was The Walking Dead. So it didn't, when she took that pill, I don't know. When I was watching this, all I kept thinking was, well, she's taking the way out so she doesn't have to, betray her friends. It didn't even occur to me she was going to come back as a walker. That completely shocked me because we haven't even hardly been seeing these walkers. I almost forgot about them for a second. So I loved it. I loved every second of it. It was the best reveal.
This is a huge change from the comics, by the way, because Negan actually used an undead hostage on Rick's group. He kind of unexpectedly shoved them in the door and, all right, here's your hostage back. And I believe it was Holly, started biting people. So that was kind of a neat way they changed it around. IG, how badass was it that not only did Carl start the festivities, but shot about 3 people before anybody could react?
Fucking Carl, man. You can't get enough of Carl. I mean, there's times where I hate him, like he's a young, whiny Luke Skywalker, and then there's other times where he's absolutely Han Solo. He's just fucking shooting first and ripping shit up, and... Carl, you make me not want to like you, and then you do shit like this, and I can't help but love you. You're doing a great job, and please just put college off for a few years. You're making some money. You can go to college later. Stay with the show. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's redeemed himself to me. He's one of my least favorite characters, and for the last couple of years I've been saying, like, if Carl dies, like, I'm fine with that. It's totally fine. Like, I just didn't like him. He's whiny, mopey, kind of the stereotypical kind of whiny teenager. And this season he's really redeemed himself. He's shown to be really tough and badass success. And that scene alone, like, you know what, he can even become mopey, whiny teenager, and at least for another season or two, that scene alone, you know, makes up for whatever bad he might do over the next couple seasons. So yeah, I think it was great. And
Ryan
he's
wearing
redeemed
his
himself to me.
customized "If Carl Doesn't Die, We Riot" shirt. Julie, what'd you think of Carl?
Yeah, I have not been a huge fan of Carl either, and he is quickly becoming one of my favorites because he does have a whole badass demeanor around him. He gives zero fucks. He completely did start that fight. He took, and quick thinking too. I mean, where everybody else, I think, was standing there astonished for a second that Sasha was coming out, he thought quick, and like you said, he got off several shots before anyone else could. In addition to that, when he was on his knees with Negan behind him, he was still talking trash to Negan. He didn't care. I mean, I think that he has definitely got a pair of beach ball sized balls as well.
Lady nuts.
Yeah, he's got lady nuts.
In my opinion, the best battle of the entire series takes place as the Alexandrians are outnumbered. Ryan, were you a little disappointed Rick didn't try for Jadis's gun and sat there and tried to reason with her instead?
Yeah, I was, because he was so close, and yeah, I was expecting him to do something, especially when everybody was distracted. Even when she pulled the gun on him, he was just close enough that he could grab it, and kind of TV rules allow for that, right? If you're close enough, then within TV rules, you can go for the person's gun and usually be okay, or grab your own gun. So I was a little surprised that he didn't do anything or didn't try to knock her off. You know, I mean, there were so many potential things that he could do that I was kind of disappointed that he just kind of hung out there and watched things unfold.
And correct me if I'm wrong, did he have his gun? Like, his hand was in his bed. Didn't he still have his gun too?
Yeah,
like he could have completely overpowered her.
I don't know. She might have that bad haircut strength.
But he was just looking around confused by everything. That's what I was saying. Like with Carl, he reacted so quickly, like, okay, here we go. And Rick, for a while, was like, hey, what's happening?
Well, Carl's got a little bit of Shane in him, I think. So, you know, a little bit more quick reaction on Carl's behalf. I mean, I'm not saying that Carl isn't legitimately Rick's, but, you know, he spent some time with Shane. He's like, all right, time to not fuck around.
Well, it puts Jadis in a bad position anyway, because if he does reason with her and changes it, then she's got to have that awkward conversation with, all right, guys, turn your guns back around on the Saviors and shoot at them. I know we discussed this in the truck, but shoot at them now. I think Rick was just so convinced that they were going to win the day and so wanted to win the day and didn't want this number turning around on him this badly that he was going to try to reason with her one more time. But I was hoping that if he's going to get shot, at least get shot in the process of grabbing for a gun or struggling with her a little bit. So she shoots Rick in the side and then leads him to Negan, where Carl's already kneeling in front of him, which he's also caught. Michonne's up in the tower going one-on-one with Ronda Rousey. While they're on their knees, IG, were you surprised that Rick still remains so defiant?
At this point, I think Rick knows that he can't be docile Rick. He has to be badass. I'm going to bite you on the neck, Rick. I'm going to do whatever it takes to win, Rick. And there is no middle ground with Negan. So either you just need to be fully subservient to Negan or you need to go completely against him. And he's done serving Negan. He's had his fill. He's not doing it anymore. So no, I wasn't surprised. I think that everything that's happened and led up, you know, all these building episodes that we didn't give such great ratings to had some building toward this moment when he's like, I told you before, because he did in the very first episode of the season, I'm going to kill you. And now he's like, nope, I'm back to, I'm going to kill you. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you kill my son. I don't care if you take my hands. I don't care what you do. I am going to kill you. And I think he means it.
Negan and Jadis haggle over the number for the deal they settled on. Negan's number was 10, and that's where they end up going. But 10 what? 10 cars, 10 guns, 10 people. Ryan, what do you think their intentions were? Was it slavery? Was it food? Or is it just white people trying to make people sex slaves again?
I don't know. That was confusing because I was trying to think, like, what kind of a deal? What's 10 people worth? Is it worth betraying? I mean, not that they needed Alexandria, but was it worth betraying a group that shows that was able to show themselves to be resourceful and smart and well organized? Was it worth betraying them for 10 people? And what? Just 10 more bodies to feed? 10 bodies for an army? Like, it was just confusing to me. So I don't know.
I think if we go back, though, I think the whole root of this If Rick would have agreed to lay with Jadis at the end of this like she asked, maybe this would have gone a whole different direction.
Maybe that was the turning point.
She said, oh, after this, I lay with him, and they both kind of were like, hey, we're going to go over here. So I think she was like, all right, bitches, we're going to turn on you. We're going to go with them now because I wanted some of Rick's ass.
I thought that line was great, too, because she was so matter of fact. Like, I'm not even taking what Rick thinks into consideration. I'm going to tell you, Michonne, what I'm doing.
I love how she just kind of shrugged afterwards, too. She's like, oh, well, that was worth a shot. I mean, Andy Lincoln's expression in that was so funny. Backing away like, maybe not. Julie, as Negan's taunting Rick and Carl, someone falls from the rooftop. Who did you think it was?
It wasn't going to be Michonne. I knew that she was putting up a fight, but Michonne has that fire in her that they're going to win. She's been the one pushing it all along that they're going to win, and I knew it was a hard fight, which surprised me a little bit. I thought Michonne could have overpowered Ronda Rousey a little bit better, but I never for a second thought it was Michonne.
She didn't have the sword of Grayskull to give her the power, though, so she couldn't.
That's true.
If she'd had her sword with her, whether she takes it out or not. I mean, we've seen her walk around just have the sword, and all of a sudden she's a badass. But without the sword, she's kind of a sissy.
Yeah.
Between the taunting, the theatrics, and the smack talk, where does Negan rate in your pantheon villains?
He's up there. I love him. I think the lines he has are amazing. His delivery is incredible. You know, I think he's showing, you know, there are weaknesses that he's starting to show, but I think as far as like on the pantheon of villains, he's got to be up there in my top, I'd say 3. You know, maybe 3-4 of top villains, and to me, it's like most iconic villains. I think if this goes on for a couple more years and he stays as a strong character, I think he will be one of the most iconic villains of our time.
Yeah, it's like right now, it's like what Lex Luthor, the Joker, and Negan.
Yeah, he definitely is up there with them. He's definitely a heavyweight. Listen, I personally marked out when Rick went back to his maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I'm going to kill you speech. You're all already dead. Andrew Lincoln and Jeffrey Dean Morgan acting was spot on, and a goddamn tagger indeed, Negan. Jules, what did you think of Shiva during the battle? How much impact did the tagger play, and does it now justify King Ezekiel using the resources on her?
Oh, I mean, it was the game changer. I mean, Carl was almost a goner there. 2 more seconds had Shiva not come up. It was amazing to see that tiger come running in because we've been part of you wants to see it have gone after Negan, kind of caught him instead of the guy behind him. But I think that was an awesome play, and it was just perfect.
Well, here's the advantageous thing about using a tiger in the way they did. First of all, if you can get the tiger to do those things, all right, in this world, they're also used to guns and explosions and all that stuff. Whatever. It's not a big deal. That shit happens all the time. But a fucking tiger jumping on somebody's ass 2 feet from you, that doesn't happen every day. That's new shit. So the havoc that a tiger biting and jumping and pouncing around is by far more effective than explosions and shooting and beating people up.
And does it say something about me that I was more concerned for Shiva's life than any of the human characters throughout the battle? Like when they were shooting at the tiger, I was freaking out a little bit. I was like, no, don't kill the tiger. But, otherwise, like any other human characters pretty much could have died.
No, that's standard man rules because you can do anything you want to the main character anytime you want, but don't you dare kill his dog. Same thing. You can't kill Shiva. Don't fucking stab Shiva. Don't poke Shiva. Don't even say a nasty word towards Shiva. You don't fuck with the dog.
I think that would be one way to get King Ezekiel to break character, though. He's like, oh, fuck, you killed my tiger. Come on. The widow is alive and guns blazing. The kingdom's here, and the Hilltoppers show up, and they come in no less dramatic fashion, with Maggie goddamn Rhee in the lead. IG, was Maggie's entrance any less dramatic than Shiva's?
No, it certainly wasn't. And she was walking in fucking Clint Eastwood-like, just gun up, walking like, shoot at me. I don't care. You can't hit me. I'm 12 feet tall and bulletproof. There's nothing you can do to me right now. And she was just amazing, leading her group of Hilltoppers, who we know that most of them are not fighters, but they were willing to go fight because they were following Maggie Reed.
My one complaint about this battle is not nearly enough Jesus in it. How much did you want to see Jesus going parkour on people?
Parkour!
Jules, what did you think of Maggie's entrance?
I love Maggie. I think she's awesome. Plus, you can tell how much control she has over her group as far as being a commanding presence. They listen to her. She knows what she's doing. She is a leader through and through. It's exciting to see how much she has stepped up.
Ryan, were you happy that Daryl finally found a gun in the course of this fight? And in Daryl-like fashion, it's the coolest goddamn gun there.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, Daryl had the best gun by far. And yeah, it's like if he was shooting people with a crossbow, I would have been pissed at this stage. Like, he needs a gun. He needs to be shooting people. And he's obviously proficient. And yeah, I don't know where he got it or what, but he had by far the coolest looking gun. I was actually thinking, I do 3D printing and modeling. And I was like, I got to find a model for that gun. I just want to print, I like printing props and stuff. So like, that's my next project is finding that gun online and modeling it and printing something like that. Not a real one, not a usable one. But
I thought he was actually going to regress and start using a slingshot or something. But yeah, I was really happy he was using a gun finally.
You taste that, IG? That tastes like shit. The scavengers and the saviors make their retreat. The scavengers seem to have a very elaborate plan on how to escape, locking the gate and using smoke bombs and even a flare gun. Have they proved themselves to be every bit, if not more, dangerous than the saviors?
Oh, they're absolutely dangerous. The fact that they have the tactical know-how and training to launch a flare in the air, throw out some smoke grenades, all retreat in the same direction, and have a plan to get out that quickly and that effectively, they know what they're doing. They have some background. Somebody there has some military time, knows a little bit about ambushes and reacting to ambushes and things like that. They are doing a great job, and they are scary at this point.
And bird calls.
I think that... And
next they're going to do the dying giraffe.
That was a Duck Commander bird call, I believe, too. Rick and Carl find Michonne, and she's alive, but she's a mess. How could you not love Negan driving away and flipping everybody off on his way out the gate? That was probably the most perfect scene in the whole episode. Negan questions Eugene over Sasha's death. He has an excuse ready. She simply ran out of air.
As Eugene is wont to do. I mean, Eugene thinks about all these things ahead of time. Eugene has an idea what he's going to talk about. He sees problems, comes up with ideas to fix them so he can keep himself relevant.
Julie, do you think Eugene had any idea what Sasha had planned?
I think maybe he did. I think he seemed very strong in how he answered Negan when I think normally he would be kind of fumbling over himself when he's scared, and he seemed very confident in how he was responding. I think granted, when Sasha came out of the room, I think they were being followed by people, but he didn't exactly ask for those pills back since she wasn't using them. It wasn't like he said, oh, hey, can I get those back? So I think it's very possible that was sort of what made me be like, is this still the long con? Did he know this was ultimately what she would probably end up doing? So I think there's a very good possibility he knew that she would do this.
I think Eugene had no idea.
Really?
None.
Okay.
Zero idea. I think Eugene is just good at thinking a little bit. And we've heard that it's a couple-hour trip between the Sanctuary and Alexandria. So if they're back at the Sanctuary and Negan's asking him what happened, he's had a couple hours to think about it. Yeah. So he's got an answer loaded. So I don't think he had any idea she was going to offer herself.
I think Eugene's a planner, so I think that I think he had this thought up in case she did what she did. I think it was a pre-planned response, and that's why he was so secure in the answer. Negan announces to a metric fuck ton of saviors that they're going to war. Ryan, are you surprised at the sheer number of the saviors' army?
No, it's been alluded to throughout the season, and so I think there was no reason to to not think that they didn't have huge numbers, and that'll be interesting now, because this is a type of war where it's gonna they may be outnumbered, who knows, 5-1 or 10-1, and outnumbered and outgunned. So while this is I think this was an important scene actually, because while Rick and while Alexandria and the Hilltop and the Kingdom, while they won this battle and it was an important battle, they didn't cut off the snake's head, and by not doing that, they're in a shit ton of trouble next season, because the Saviors still have numbers, they still have weapons, and that's going to be a huge problem. That's why it's extremely important that Dwight stay on their side, because they're going to need that inside person, because they're still in a lot of trouble at this stage.
Glenn made the decision for all of us a long time ago. You both did. And I have to admit, that got me. IG, you big softy. Can you honestly admit that you didn't tear up a little bit over the Maggie decision speech?
No, I can't admit that. I was able to fight off the full-blown sobbing, but the tears did come. I mean, I had to go and check myself for my estrogen levels afterwards, because it was coming pretty regular. It was rough. And the thing is, I think Maggie has that effect in general. Because of everything she's been through and the wonderful acting of Lauren Cohen, she does a wonderful job. She's able to evoke feelings in people about things. I know this is fake. I know it's all fake, but I still care. And a lot of that, especially in this speech, is how Lauren Cohen, how Maggie fucking Ree says all of these things.
Now, Ryan, I know you're much more of a hugger than a crier due to your Muay Thai background. What did you think of Maggie's speech?
It was a moving speech. So like definitely, it was an emotional speech, and I think it was a great way to close the episode. It was an important way to close the episode, and kind of in a lot of ways, it ends that chapter for her and for Glenn and for the show in a way. We're kind of entering into a new era of the show, and so I think it was a fitting end, because the way he went out was pretty brutal and pretty awful, and so to have this moment and have that be the end of the season, I think was moving and really meaningful.
Daryl finds a wooden carved soldier at the gate that can only be from Dwight. It says, "I didn't know." Julie, do you believe that?
I do. I think that he had the opportunity to go ahead and kill some of Rick's group if he wanted to be a part of Negan's group, and he didn't do that. So I think that he didn't know. But what concerns me about this a little bit is he appears to be Negan's like third in command or so, but he didn't know about this. So that to me questions how much faith Negan has in Dwight. What's going on there? That he had no idea. In that long car ride, he was never given a heads up.
Yeah, it definitely is troubling. You think you'd want everybody filled in. So him not knowing, does that speak to how much Negan trusts him? Because Negan seems to trust everybody. He robbed a guy on the way over, took him hostage, and he trusts that guy already. So does he not trust Dwight? And does Daryl trust Dwight more than Negan does? Ryan, give us your thoughts on the episode, the ending, and the rating.
All right, so I'm gonna a couple things. So I'm gonna say first. I'm gonna start with there are a few issues I did have with the episode. One was Deus Ex Shiva, while awesome, was still a little too convenient for timing. That they just show up and Shiva just shows up was a little too convenient for me. And it took me out a little bit. I also did. It's how does she even know who to kill? So it's like, does she have like a Stark-like connection with Ezekiel? So that was again that kind of took me out of it a little bit. The other thing is, when the rule is kind of noise equals hordes of walkers, and so here you had this giant battle, but apparently there wasn't a horde of walkers that showed up. Maybe they did, maybe they're just hanging out outside. They closed the gates and the wall holds, but that just bugged me a little bit that we saw one walker, and after this giant gun battle there was nothing else. And then one other, it's kind of nitpicky, but Carol's become a badass, we know that, but when did she go through her Navy SEAL training? Like that kind of bugged me, that little scene. It's like, okay, I get it, she's tough, but now she can lead soldiers, and the way she did it just was a little weird to me. But I say that because there are some times in shows where they'll do they hit the right emotional notes where you have to look past any of those negative things. Like in any other episode, that would bring the show down a lot for me. But I think that last scene, like even with Shiva, like it being kind of convenient, that was such a holy shit moment that it didn't matter because you got to see a tiger attacking people. And I didn't care so much that she was only attacking, the enemies. And, the scenes with Sasha and Abraham were moving. And I didn't like it initially, but then seeing how it played out and seeing that this was really Sasha saying goodbye and her kind of dying, that kind of in hindsight did make it very meaningful to me. And I think it really was important to have, which I wasn't buying it initially, but it was really important. The ending, that battle at the end was just amazing. It was really tense. I thought there was a point where it's just like, they're done. They can't win. There's no way, nothing can happen where they could win. Their backs are against the wall, and it worked out. And then, just the performances were great. Negan, like the dialogue for all my complaints about the writing as far as a story, the dialogue is always on point. And I think Negan was great. His quippiness while in battle was awesome. Sasha was great. Eugene's lines and performance was great. Rick was badass. So Rick was badass and maintained it throughout. He didn't fall back into his shell. So I think that those highlights were so great that I think for me the episode really hit, and I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to give it 9.5. I just think that battle at the end, was so great. And again, the lines and everything, I'm going to give it a 9.5 in spite of whatever negatives I might have brought up.
I didn't have many complaints about this episode. I did think the one thing that I thought was a little bit interesting was when the saviors were cutting down the trees that Dwight had obviously put up as a barrier. I was just kind of wondering why nobody maybe checked on Sasha at that point and said, "Hey, you doing okay in there?" But she did say she was going to be asleep, so I guess that was maybe they were just being nice about it. Thankfully, they didn't. I thought that this episode was tops for the season. I really liked the first episode personally, but of the second half of this season. But I also liked, I felt like this episode was amazing, and the ending certainly clinched it for me because it really did give Abraham and Glenn a full circle tribute since we started out the season on such a low note with their deaths. So for me, this season finale was a winner. I'm very happy with it, and I think that it is only going to go up from here. So I think I would give it also a 9.5.
This was a total 10 for me, and I don't hand that out lightly. The battle was amazing. We finally got to see a little bit of pushback, and everyone was on board. It took us 16 episodes, sometimes grueling, to get there, but it was worth it when it paid off. Everyone was on board. I wanted the battle to last a little longer. Like I said, we could have used a little more Jesus in it. The inclusion of the tagger, King Ezekiel stepped up. It was great. It made me wish that October was right now. It's war, and I'm ready for it.
So for me, this episode was the absolute best episode of this season. Now, the first episode of the entire season was a very close second, but this one did surpass it. I think the fact that all players involved, everybody from every aspect was here. You had the Saviors, you had the Heapsters, you had Alexandria, you had the Hilltop, and the Kingdom. And the Kingdom brought it all. They showed up in force. Everybody doing their part in this battle, and the battle was amazing. Some amazing cinematography, some really beautiful shots in this show. It really brought everything together for me, and we didn't have any horrific blue screen, green screen. The CGI on Shiva was great. I love this, and I'm going to be right there with Cynic and give this a 10. This was an amazing episode, and I can't wait for the next season to start. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so wonderful to see everything come back around and see where this war goes. So there you go, Cynic Radio Podcast, the final episode of Season 7, Episode 16, the first day of the rest of your life. Let's call it a 9.75 from the Cynic Radio Podcast. We're going to be talking about some new stuff, probably a little Fear the Walking Dead in upcoming episodes, but right now, here comes Really. So now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's time for Really. I'd explain it. Just listen. You'll get it.
So my really for the week goes out to Darwin Award candidates John David Kane and Deanna Lynn Greer, who were arrested in Tennessee this week for attempting to sell their baby on Craigslist for $3,000. So I don't know what's worse, the fact that they were trying to sell their baby or the fact that they would do it on Craigslist and not think they'd get caught. But regardless, this couple definitely deserves a really for the week. Really? Selling a kid on Craigslist? How stupid can you be?
Really for me this week goes out to the Coastal Carolina cheerleading squad. The entire squad has been suspended by Coastal Carolina University pending a conduct investigation. One of the cheerleaders, speaking under anonymity, says that they were told about a long list of things, including prostitution, purchasing alcohol for underage team members, and paying others to complete their homework assignments. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why sports in our colleges is bad. These student athletes, and the emphasis is supposed to be on students, aren't doing the student part. They're more worried about their athletics and really cheerleading. What are you going to turn that into as an adult? Nothing. So go to school, do your homework, stop drinking, and please, ladies, stop whoring yourselves out. Let's do this the right way. Go to college and make something of yourselves. Coastal Carolina's cheerleading squad, really?
My really is hands down going out to Bill O'Reilly this week. The New York Times posted an article this week stating that Bill O'Reilly and Fox News has paid out over $13 million to at least 5 accusers since 2004 to resolve complaints against O'Reilly about his sexual harassment antics. Now, while O'Reilly posted the obligatory, I'm the actual victim in this scenario because I'm famous and there's always people looking to take advantage of someone in my position type of statement, I call shenanigans. Because there's plenty of other news hosts that do not seem to have the same issue despite being in that very same position. Additionally, why would you ever pay out money like that just to shut people up if there wasn't any shred of truth to it, knowing you could be provided the best lawyers to defend these accusations? I find it disgusting that Fox News, as his employer, doesn't see him as a liability for this many accusations of harassment. Or is it that his worth to the news channel far outweighs $13 million to accusers? It looks like the integrity of the network just isn't as important as those dollars, which means Bill O'Reilly is free to continue this egregious behavior. So, Bill O'Reilly and Fox News, really?
Really for me this week, and mind you, I never miss out on a chance to tease our good friends from the Buckeye State. That being said, it's now 2017, and they finally found it in their hearts to outlaw sex with animals. There's a new law that prohibits a person from engaging in sexual conduct or related acts. I have no idea what a related act is, but I don't want to be around to see it. And the law provides for seizure and impoundment of an animal that has been violated, and also authorizes sentencing that would require the offender to undergo psychological counseling and evaluation. Ohio is just a handful of states that didn't have a law against this type of behavior. So for all you animal love enthusiasts, you'll have to take your donkey show needs across the border to Kentucky. 2017, and you're finally passing bestiality laws? Really?
And that's going to do it for episode 25 of the Cynic Radio podcast. I'm Edgar He. With me, as always, has been my good friend and baseball fanatic Cynic. Joining us this week has been Jules and the ever wonderful Ryan George of the Jim Witz podcast. We're going to be back next week talking about a Season 7 wrap-up. Also probably going to give you a little bit of a heads up of Fear the Walking Dead. And until then, send us your comments, questions, concerns, and all your used Docher CDs to cynicradio.com. Send us an email at cynicradio@gmail.com. Find us at Facebook at facebook.com/cynicradio. And look for us on Twitter at cynicradio, CINIK. Come back next week for new reallys, new what's ups, and everything you're looking for about The Walking Dead and movies coming forward in the future. And until next time, don't get captured.
Follow the podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and at cynicradio.com. Available for download on iTunes.
the hipsters are here, and they're like typical hipsters. They have bikes.